Hello everyone and welcome back to me, Shiva Wilson, and my channel LCUK, which stands for Legalized Cannabis United Kingdom. Now today, I have some quite shocking statistics that I wanted to go over with you in more depth. It's all about this de facto decriminalisation you may have heard of. I actually had to check what de facto means. It means in fact, in reality, or in practice, as contrasted with de jure, meaning the legal or official situation. So I'm going to make the case here with a bit of dodgy numbers from the internet that in fact, in reality, in practice, we have over 99% decriminalisation of cannabis in the UK. And it might be even higher than that. So here's my working out for you. Now if you've already seen the short about this, you can probably click off because this is pretty much going to be the same stats. So I did a Google search for statistics into total cannabis users in the UK. It came back with 2.3 million in England and Wales. So that's not even counting Scotland and Northern Ireland. I'll get to that in a bit. But let's first deal with just England and Wales. Now, a Freedom of Information request has recently found in the Daily Mail that 68.5 thousand people were caught in possession of cannabis, and of them, only 17,000 were actually charged. So let's work this out in percentage terms. 68.5 thousand of 2.3 million is 2.98%. So let's say roughly 3% of total cannabis users in England and Wales were caught. Now what percentage were charged? So 17,000 of 2.3 million is 0.74%. So that's less than 1% of total cannabis consumers were charged in that yearly period. So let's look at it this way. If you're a cannabis consumer, you have a roughly 3% chance of being caught in possession at the moment, and less than 1% chance of actually being charged rather than given a warning or a fine or a community resolution, whatever that is, like community service or a drugs awareness course, I think. Or the other way around, if you're a cannabis consumer in England and Wales, you have a 97% chance of not being caught and a 99% chance of not being charged. How do you like them odds? Sounds alright, eh? Sounds a bit like 99% decriminalisation if you ask me. De facto, of course, in fact, in reality, in practice. So let's factor in Scotland and Northern Ireland. Now the England and Wales statistic of 2.3 million cannabis users was from 6.8% of the population who smoke or use weed illegally. So if we apply that 6.8% to Scotland and Northern Ireland, combined population of 7.4 million, that adds another 500,000 to the total weed users in the UK. So let's quickly rework the maths. 68.5 thousand divided by 2.8 million times 100 equals 2.45% were caught. 17,000 divided by 2.8 million times 100 equals 0.61% were charged. So that's even lower percentages. Now add to the matter that Peter Reynolds, the president of CLEAR, Cannabis Law Reform Campaign Group, says that the statistic of 2.3 million is a wild underestimate and that he believes there are more like 5 million total regular cannabis users in the UK. So let's just indulge that estimate with the same number crunching. 68.5 thousand divided by 5 million times 100 equals 1.37% were caught. 17,000, hold on one second. So 17,000 divided by 5 million times 100 equals 0.34% were charged. So 1.37% of users were caught in possession. Whoa. And 0.34% of users were charged. That's getting pretty close to 0% there. You might even say that a statistically insignificant amount of people were charged with cannabis possession. Less than 0.5% of total cannabis users. So on that basis, we can say that there is about 0.34% criminalisation rate for cannabis possession in the UK. Or in other words, you have a 99.66% chance of having no legal trouble if you're currently in possession of cannabis. So there we go. I don't know if these numbers are going to make you feel any better about having weed on you. It certainly seems to suggest a de facto decriminalisation of weed in the UK, whatever way you look at it. Oh, and the 17,000 who did get charged, that's only 26 per MP, Member of Parliament. 17,000 divided by 650. So per MP in Parliament, 26 people got charged for cannabis possession. I don't know if that helps you. So after looking at these calculations, I'm thinking, what if all 2.3 to 5 million cannabis consumers started campaigning for it to be legalised? But it also could show why there isn't much going on in the legalisation circuit in the UK. We've been hoodwinked into thinking the law is being enforced when 99% of the time it clearly isn't. I mean, obviously these calculations have a lot of holes in them. For a true calculation, we'd need an accurate figure for total cannabis users for the whole of the UK, and to make sure that the time periods match up for the total users versus how many were caught and charged, etc. But roughly speaking, this gives you a good idea of just how many cannabis users out there are getting away with it all the time. I feel like this should be big news, you know, less than 1% of total cannabis users were charged. De facto decriminalisation is here, babies. Oh, and if you do happen to be one of the unlucky ones who get caught, 75% of those who got caught didn't face going to court. So it's highly likely if you do get caught, you won't go to court. But if you do get caught and go to court, there is no mention of how many people actually went to jail for it. But as of the 31st of December 2024, the number of prisoners with cannabis-related offences recorded as their main offence was 1,073, which is 0.05 of the 2.3 million total users in England and Wales, or 0.02 of the estimated 5 million total users in the UK. So in summary, if you're in possession of cannabis, you have roughly 3% or less chance of being caught by the feds, 0.74 or less chance of being charged, and a 0.02 chance of going to jail. So how does that make you feel? Well, if you do go to jail, you must be really unlucky. Or if you want to make something out of your story and take it to the media to help legalization, then you know, it could be a sign of luck. 99.98 chance of not going to jail for weed possession. Now, if you can find me some more accurate figures, please do send them to me with a link to the sources and I'll have another look. 99.98 decriminalisation, 5 million regular users, 1,073 in jail. You do the maths. Now, while this may be all well and good for the average cannabis consumer, it's still not totally right, is it? There are still nefarious gangs at the heart of the weed supply. And no, I'm not talking about UK medical. Lol. Of course, now that we do have de facto decriminalisation, the next step would be to formalise that, or go even one further and legalise it so that we can clean up the supply chain, put some safety protocols in place and get more choice, better products and a viable alternative to alcohol in dispensaries. What do you think? Anyway, that's the video. It's long enough now. Let me know what you think of the maths and my conclusions. And you know, if you think I'm right about my sums, then this could be really big news for the stoner community. So, you know, spread it around. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, share and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one. Shiva Wilson for LC UK, doing the maths that matters. Good night.